Greetings, and welcome to Ealdormere at Home, the web series dedicated to keeping the North folk connected. Time now for Wolves of the Breed, wherein we talk with one of your fellow Ealdormereans.
Hi, Rhys. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And how are you doing?
Fairly well. It's a beautiful day. It's nice and warm. I get to wear some garb.
Excellent. Me too. I love it.
Yes, it would be quite nice.
Now, I asked if I could speak with you today because I thought it would be really great to check in with someone who is pretty new to our barony. When did you join the SCA, Rhys?
I joined September 21st, 2019.
Yeah, just last year, right after the baronial investiture here in Rising Waters.
Yes, I managed to just miss it.
Well, what has your experience been like before the pandemic?
Well, before the pandemic, I was able to attend mega practices and see people in person, which was nice, and get to meet all the people.
And I think you got to go to Winter War.
I did get to go to Winter War as well as Blue Dragon, which was fantastic because it was their first year.
Awesome. So a couple really good events. Overnight event. That was a lot of fun. You got to
It was a lot of fun.
Got to help teach a couple classes, which was great.
I got to teach throwing knife making and penannular brooch making.
Fantastic. Really cool. Now, since the pandemic, how has your experience changed?
Well, there's no more in-person events. There are a lot more events happening because they're all online. So I'm able to attend events from all over the world, get to digitally meet new people, which is very cool. I get to learn a lot of different things rather than only what we have locally. I can learn all over the place.
So would you say that you've been able to continue being engaged in the SCA during your first year of your membership?
I'd say yes, but in a completely different way. Rather than being more involved with local things and establishing our barony here, I get to experience the wider known world, which is very interesting.
Wonderful. So can you tell me a little more about how you've been able to keep engaged as you move online and participating in the SCA?
Well, I was lucky enough prior to COVID happening to be accepted in the position of social media officer for the barony of Rising Waters. And in doing so, it really allows me to engage with people both in my barony and outside my barony.
That role's become quite important as we've moved into a more virtual existence, hasn't it?
It has. A lot of people are confused. A lot of people want to have more information about what our organization is going to be doing about this. And it's really, and there's a lot of events and a lot of content being put out there. So it's important to have somebody who's able to kind of organize these things.
Now, I know we have members within our own barony who are not always very comfortable with Zoom managed forums with video and audio. Do you have any advice for people who might want to participate but feel a little unsure of using their video or audio?
I would say take advantage of the people who are in your barony. There are a lot of people who are more tech savvy, and we're all fairly friendly. So if you have any questions, we can help guide. If it's a question of not being comfortable using a certain platform, we do have other options. A lot of times when we are recording something, we will post it then onto our baronial YouTube page, and that doesn't require any type of personal information being put out there.
Well, and not all Zoom sessions are recorded. Many of our sessions in our barony are not recorded at all, so they're not captured. And my understanding and the way I have used Zoom is it's entirely up to the participants on whether or not they do want to have their video camera on or their microphone. And there's a chat function that they could participate in quite effectively.
Absolutely. I actually moderated a roundtable just a couple of weeks ago where we had 56 participants and a panel of, I believe it was 10 or 12?
Many.
many peers of Ealdormere who spoke, and we were able to engage with people who are just watching through chat and through another website called Slido, so that they could submit questions anonymously.
Great. So when we first met, Rhys, you expressed an interest in being a herald. Have you found that going into virtual reality for the SCA, that you've been able to explore that further?
I have. I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of long-standing heralds who have been able to help me, including the Green Mantle and the previous Green Mantle. We formed a kind of a nice conversational relationship. So I have learned a lot from them. I have so far submitted, I believe, 4 people or their heraldry and their names. Which was quite a learning experience.
So the consulting process can be interesting in working with different clients. And are you doing this through Facebook or through email? How are you doing it?
I'm doing a lot of it through Facebook Messenger. I'm doing some of it through email. Some of it is in person because it's family members who are interested in either joining or participating in some fashion. It's a little bit of everything. However somebody wants to contact me is how I do it.
Excellent. I'm really happy to see that you're progressing as a new herald.
I'm happy too. It's something that I enjoy doing.
Do you have any advice for other newcomers out there?
Jump in, but not too deep. Make sure that you take your time and dabble a little bit in everything. But don't take anything too seriously. You want to sample everything.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Rhys. I really appreciate you meeting with me today.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Janet sits in her lonely room, sewing a silken seam, looking out on Cotter Hall among the roses green. And Janet sits in her lonely bower, sewing a silken thread, and longs to be in Cotter Hall among the roses red.
She'd let the seam pull at her heel, the needle to her toe, and she has gone to Cotter Hall as fast as she can go. She hadn't pulled a rose, but only one, when then appeared him young Tam Lin, says, "Lady, let alone."
What makes you pull the rose, the rose? What makes you break the tree? What makes you come to Cotter Hall without the leave of me?
But Cotter Hall is not your own, roses there are many. I'll come and go all as I please, and not ask leave of any.
And he has took her by the hand, took her by the sleeve, and he has laid this lady down among the roses green.
And she has took him by the arm, took him by the hem, and she has laid this stranger down among the roses red.
There's 24 ladies fair, sewing at the silk, and Janet goes among them all, her face as pale as milk. And 24 gentlemen playing at the chess, and Janet goes among them all, as green as any glass.
Then up and spoke her father, He spoken meek and mild. Oh, alas, my daughter, I fear you go with child, and is it to a man of might, or to a man of means? Or who among my gentlemen shall give the babe his name?
O father, if I go with child, this much to you I'll tell, there's none among your gentlemen that I would treat so well. And father, if I go with child, I will bear the blame. There's none among your gentlemen shall give the babe his name. She's let the seam fall at her heel, the needle to her toe, and she has gone to Carter Hall as fast as she could go, and she is down among the weeds, down among the thorn, when then appeared Tamlin again, says, Lady, pull no more. What makes you pull the poison rose? What makes you break the tree? What makes you harm the little babe that I have got with thee?
Oh, I will pull the rose, Tamlin, I will break the tree, but I'll not bear this little babe that you have got with me. If they were to a gentleman, and not a wild shade, I'd rock them all the winter's night, and all the summer's days.
Then take me back into your arms, if you my love would win, and hold me tight and fear me not, I'll be a gentleman. But first I'll change all in your arms into a wild wolf, but hold me tight and fear me not, I am your own true love. And then I'll change all in your arms into a wild bear, but hold me tight and fear me not, I am your husband dear. And then I'll change all in your arms into a lion bold, but hold me tight and fear me not, you will love your child.
At first he changed all in her arms into a wild wolf. She held him tight and feared him not, he was her own true love. And then he changed all in her arms into a wild bear. She held him tight and feared him not, he was her husband dear. And then he changed all in her arms into a lion bold. She held him tight and feared him not, the father of her child. And then he changed all in her arms into a naked man. She wrapped him in her coat so warm, and she has brought him home.
Hello, I'm Baroness Lucia, and I'm talking with Maureen and Alfleda. Do you guys want to introduce with your full names and titles?
Go ahead.
I'm Viscountess Alfleda, 11th Viscountess of Ealdormere, Mistress of the Pelican. I was one of the original Scraels. I've been in the SCA for 40 years. My first Pensic was Pensic 9.
I'm Viscount Mordain Blackcloak, 9th Viscount of Ealdormere, Melies, which is the same, right? And I've been to missing the same 4 she did, and one more. I've been to everyone since Pensic 8.
I'm sure you've heard the story of the Doom of Ealdormere. That was very much...
It was very emotional.
Very
when
emotional
Baron
at the time.
Iden actually told that story aloud at
the first time we heard it, everyone was in tears. But then we were gone for 4 years, living out west, and we came back, and it was already on the second reign of the Principality.
Yeah.
So we kind of missed that whole era generation of change there that happened.
Weird things about Pennsic 10 that I remember is Duke John Bearkiller, who, if you know anything about the BOD, he's been chairman of the BOD several times. He was even a Duke back in Pennsic 10, and he was walking into, and I have pictorial evidence of this, walking onto the field with "I'm only here for the beer" duct taped to his shield. And Finvar, who was wearing a barrel helm which had a flat top, had put in tape on the top of his helm, "Hit me here." So it was a little bit more lighthearted in many ways back in the early days.
You were knighted at Pennsic, Mordain?
Pennsic 11, yes.
That's a long time ago.
Almost
I
literally.
was 23 at the time.
Holy crap.
And it was a very unusual night in many ways, because back then there was a crown list in the Middle Kingdom and you worked your way up it. And the king at the time, King Andrew, left me off the list, so I assumed I was not going to get knighted. But then Finvar called all of Septentria / Scrael onto the runestone field and said, and this is also kind of odd, because why would Finvar be the one doing this? But he announced to all of the Canadians that I was going to be knighted the next day. And then he told me to go sit my vigil in my tent. And this was not your standard vigil that you get nowadays. This was me sitting alone in a tent all night.
Oh.
And as far as I know, it was the second vigil in the entire SCA.
Yeah, because
Because
back,
it wasn't done back then.
yeah, back then peerages were just like any other award. You were kind of called up in court, you got it,
Yeah.
your award, you know, and even laurelings and pelicans were not that different from a willow, you know, from a
mid-level
higher lord.
award.
No, except that you got a medallion.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure they did fealty. I don't remember.
I think they
Knights did. Knightings were always, you know, the ceremony was.
And then in the actual knighting ceremony,
They were always usually surprises. So.
it was also quite weird because the king, presumably because he had no idea who I was, stood to the side. The prince said all the words the king would normally say, and Finvar held the sword and actually knighted me, which was very unusual, and you got to give King Andrew props for that.
Because Andrew was a knight, he could have done it.
He could have done it, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Were you pelicaned at Pennsic too,
No, I
Alfleda?
was not.
Were you pelicaned at Pennsic too,
No, I
Alfleda?
was not. I was pelicaned up in Scrael, actually.
Oh, nice.
I was the first one after we became a kingdom, so it's, I would say, much more recent, but it's not that recent. I guess it's 20 years.
It's 2000 or so, wasn't it?
2000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
99 or 2000.
Yeah. But no, I was actually done it in Scrael. So I was in, it was a winter reign for David and Elena, and I wanted it to be, it was important that I have it done at home here.
Nice. Do you wish you could go back in time more, or are you liking the progress that we've made?
I'd like to be young again.
Wouldn't we all? Yeah.
One thing is that is much better is just the medievalness of Pennsic. Everyone back then had mundane tents. We were, you know, the quality
students.
we were starving students.
Yeah.
But the quality of the tents, of the garb, of the armor, you know, everything is more medieval now, and you know, that's an improvement.
And you still get the lighthearted fun bit down in the bog, and elsewhere, of course.
Well,
but it's a little bit more serious seeming than it was back in the day.
It's more of a city than a group of friends now. You know,
Yeah.
It used to be there was no encampments, there was no land grab. People just sort of set up wherever, although there were kind of traditional areas that had formed. Because I think Pennsic 6 was the first at Cooper's Lake.
Yes.
So when we were there by 7, 8, 9, you know, we'd only been there for a couple, 2, 3 years, right? So it wasn't quite the, you know, there wasn't quite the same traditions, although 2 years is a tradition in the SCA, as we know.
It totally is. Yes, for sure. One last question. What has been the best thing about being in the SCA for 40 years? Like, what has been the best takeaway?
Absolutely
The friends.
We've made
Yeah.
amazing friends who
Been with us all along, so some of them, and yeah, chosen family. That's what it is, really.
For sure.
Master Brand, welcome to Ealdormere at Home, your Kingdom Chatelaine. And I'm excited to hear what you have to say about the office of the Kingdom Chatelaine. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
But generally speaking, the Kingdom Chatelaine has been responsible for herding cats, which are the local chatelaines. But chatelaine is a tough job. Local chatelaines are kind of made to make up their own job. So I'm taking a slightly different tack on it. I'm trying to build structure so that new chatelaines in local groups have something to market the SCA. They have some guidance on, this is what new people think is awesome. So we set up the framework for a new newcomers page, which is ealdormere.ca/new. And the idea is it's a filter to explain the rest of the website or give links to things that explain things. So the important thing is making the SCA accessible, cutting down on the jargon, making it not intimidating, talking about the fun things, and getting people hooked and getting them involved. So the idea of the Kingdom Chatelaine is to build, to get back to your question, is to build structure to help local chatelaines have a website where, you know, somebody says, I want to know about archery. Oh, well, let's go to ealdormere.ca/new/archery. Here's some basic stuff, or here's a link to some YouTube videos, and we're not limited to text. We can have videos, we can have hyperlinks to research, to handbooks, but there's so much information in the SCA. We want to filter it and make it, here's a couple things to get you going, don't sweat it. So that's the job of the Kingdom Chatelaine currently.
So if somebody wanted to maybe help with some of those newcomer pages, how would they contact you to do that?
Awesome. The easiest way is to connect with me on Facebook. We're doing a lot of the work on Facebook, Ealdormere Chatelaine. There's also ealdormerechatelaine@gmail.com, or just say hey brand on the Ealdormere Facebook page. We are doing things. The other thing that we're doing a little differently is local groups often appoint a chatelaine, but we have these awesome people floating around the kingdom who are really good at demos. So we're starting to do chatelaines at large. So if somebody wants to be a chatelaine who's experienced in the SCA and they're excited, come on in. You can't have too many people on the welcome wagon. And the other thing chatelaines can do, which we're gonna do when we can have events again, is have a newcomers corner. One of the things when I first joined is I was really hyper, more than I am now, way more than I am now. I've calmed down. You ask Roak. Roak can tell you, so can Arnora. I have calmed down a lot. But I would be like, can you explain this to me? Why is that person wearing a green belt? Who's that? What's going on? What does wassail mean? I don't understand any of this. And I had some really patient people who would explain it all. We need that opportunity for new people. And again, we see people, their first event, we give them cups, we give them a big cheer. We know it's their first event and we say hi to them and we're friendly. By their fourth event, oh, they're here. They've always been here. And we forget to tell them, hey, you might not know about this tradition that happened 25 years ago, and this is why we do this thing. So the idea is we're going to do, when we can have events, newcomers corners, where we teach one thing. We do not have we don't have a gathering of 30 experienced people with 40 opinions, telling 5 newcomers and overwhelming them. But we explain one thing, and then the newcomers are free to ask any questions they want. And have that newcomers corner at as many events as possible. Now, in COVID times, that's kind of hard. So one of the things we were talking about is we just recently had a peerage roundtable on Zoom, and it was awesome. People asked great questions that we didn't think people needed to ask, but they were really intelligent questions once we thought about it. And it was incredibly positive, and people came away happy. We can do that kind of thing with newcomers. So we're thinking about doing a newcomers corner video chat. We're looking at the 3rd Thursday every month. We're going to look at starting it this August 20th. And we'll do it once a month. And because we have new people, we have people who've been in less than 2 years who don't understand everything about the game. So it wouldn't hurt to have a basic conversation. Let's talk about, customs and courtesy. here's why we bow to the thrones, here's why we say wassail, here's how we do toasts at feasts, here's some of the basic customs, and 10 minutes tops, and then if you have any questions about anything, it doesn't matter. And then newcomers feel comfortable talking about, well, why does that person wear a red belt? And, hey, can I dress up as an Aztec? And, all these great questions. So we're going to try it. We'll see how it goes. And if it works out well, we'll do it once a month.
That's a wonderful idea. My first, I want to say at least the first year that I was in the FCA, His Majesty Britannicus answered all of those questions for me every single time we drove home in the car. And,
you must have left a good impression.
So, and sometimes he couldn't answer, and sometimes we reached out to, well, you and some other people that we know for those answers. So it's really exciting to have the newcomer question and answer period kind of things, the Newcomers Corner coming up, that people can ask those, especially in these downtimes. It's time to find out now.
Right. And the other thing that newcomers will be great for is giving us feedback on how we suck at making newcomers involved, because we are a very dense club. We have a million activities, which means we have a million little circles of people. Those people are off talking embroidery. Those heralds are off talking herald jargon. The royalties walking around with their retainers. The people are working in the kitchen. There's all these little subgroups, and they're not isolated. People cross over all the time. But to a new person, it's like a Disney ride. You can't see everything on the first ride, and they have to kind of grab somebody as they run by and go, "I want to help."
So I think that covers most things. Is there anything else that you can think of? I mean,
so we're trying to build the newcomer page. We want feedback, we want input, we want articles. So if you're interested, please go to ealdormere.ca/new, take a look. If you see something you want changed or improved, absolutely. Reach out to us. We have a Chatelaines Facebook group where we talk about newcomers. If you're interested in being a Chatelaine, reach out to us. And also, if you're new, don't be afraid to reach out. We're all very excited to talk to you. And everything's kind of on hold right now, but it doesn't mean we can't be making garb, putting armor together, cooking. Like, I'm cooking weird German food right now because why not? There's no reason we can't be getting ready for when we can go back.
I think that's a wonderful point. And I'm just going to say it. Don't be afraid to reach out to myself either, or His Majesty, because we have always been really excited about helping get new people into this wonderful, fun organization of ours. And we will answer any questions. So I'm looking forward to your Newcomers Corners. So I might pop in so I can
that would be awesome.
Answer a question or two.
That would be awesome.
Well, I think, unless you can think of anything else to add, I think that's about it.
I think I've rambled quite enough.
You did wonderfully. Well, thank you so very, very much, Master Brand. And thanks for joining us on Ealdormere at Home.
Thanks for asking me.
Amelia Merriman hails from the Shire of Trinovantia Nova, where she hones her skills in the needle arts. She enjoys bobbin lace, though her main focus is on embroidery, which she has been practicing since childhood, along with sewing and knitting. She is drawn to late period textiles due to the wealth of extant examples and that period's artistic representation. Amelia's toolkit, which she keeps in a sturdy wooden box to protect its contents from curious felines, contains a notebook, thread, orts, leftover bits of thread, scissors, pins, and a pin cushion, fine tip markers, and 28-gauge blunt needles. Her notebooks contain notes on which elements she is using for her designs, and a list of the threads, which are each identified by a number, so she can easily keep track of what colors she has used. She traces her designs onto the fabric with a black marker, and then utilizes a number of different kinds of stitches to bring those designs to life. Her current project is a coif to match the heraldic face mask she recently completed.
To keep up to date on upcoming events, make sure you check out the Kingdom calendar on the Kingdom website.
If you would like to appear as a guest on a future episode or have a video you'd like to submit for possible inclusion, check out our submission process. We hope to hear from you soon.
That's a wrap for this episode. Take a look at the video description for links relating to this episode's stories.
Until next time, stay safe, Ealdormere, and we'll see you at home.